Welcome to Season 2 of Trap Talk.
Brought to you by Krieghoff.
Welcome back, Trap Talk listeners. I'm your host, Zach Nannini, and I'm here with the one and only Richard Marshall Jr. He's looking good, wearing the Krieghoff hat, wearing the jersey. We're back from Ohio. We're ready for the Grand. He's going off to Nebraska this week, so he's already packing the RV, getting everything tightened up, and we got to do more content because you guys love the content. You need it. You want it. You're emailing us. We can't miss a Friday, right, Rick?
No, we cannot. We have been busy traveling around shooting.
We don't miss anything. So I think John came up with a pretty cool idea. He wanted us to do 10 common mistakes that trap shooters are doing. And I think these are things that probably I've done, probably you've done, probably most people have done at trap shoots all across the country. And we're just going to talk. Now, this might not be the number 10 best or number 10 worst. It's just things that are commonly done. And we might come out with some more tips like this down the road. So, I think to start this off, Rick, and I hope you're echoing this the same way, but I think the common mistake that I see a lot, that I do a lot, and a lot of people do a lot, is calling pull before they're ready or moving the gun on the call. I mean, that's kind of like, in my mind, the number one thing that you see across the country. I mean, what do you feel about that, Rick?
Yeah. Prime example at Ohio. Sunday's handicap. I broke 96, missed 4. I think it was out of the first 55. And run them out. And I said to Ryan Glow, if I keep my dang gun still, I'd bring 100. And everybody does it. Some of the mics. I mean, we had a rainstorm, as you know, Sunday morning. Mics fill up with water. They don't usually get drained out or whatnot. So that can be a little bit of an issue. But the slow polls had some of them. And that's just common in shooting, moving the gun before you're ready,
Well, yeah. And what is that in your mind? What does that do to a shooter when they're moving the gun on the call and they're not seeing the target well?
You're looking at the bead, or you look back, you do something that's not natural and free flowing. So that's what I always say is, keep the gun still. Don't move before you see the target.
So would you agree that that's probably like our number one thing that we see across the country? I mean, that's probably a good one to start with, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's very common. I see it all the time in clinics, private lessons. Yeah, it is very common to move that gun before you see the target.
I do it a lot, and I'm trying to work on it, but I think the only way you could work on it is by taking your time and getting ready and feeling your eyes lock into place. Like, you have to say, okay, I feel myself get there.
Yeah. Well, make sure your eyes are ready, your focus, your soft focus, whatever you're doing, looking at, however wide or narrow your soft focus is. But one of the most important things is being confident. If you get up there and mount that gun and you're not, your mind's going, you're thinking.
Well, I think that comes to number 2, which me and Ricky kind of already talked about these 10 things, so I'm just going to go through the list. But number 2 is having the right positive mental attitude, right, Rick? Like, yeah. I think if we look at the adverse of that, it's going into the event with a bad attitude or not believing or not having that confidence. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, I don't care who you are. Everybody has a bad day or has a bad trap. It happens. But when you get that negative and you're constantly like, this place is trash, or, I don't want to be here, blah, blah, blah. I always say, well, then leave.
Well, yeah. And it's funny to me because you go to these gun clubs, and in Ohio, we had a couple rainy days, and like on the doubles on Sunday, there was a ton of people that pulled out. And I can understand that at some level, but for us, if it's rain, shine, whatever, we're going out and we're shooting in it. And you can do 2 things in the morning when you wake up. You can either say, oh crap, it's rainy, I'm going to suck, and then go out there and you're probably going to suck. Or you could say, you know what? everybody's got to shoot in this rain. Let's make the best of it. Let's get it on, and let's see what we can put up on the board.
As you saw, I mean, like, well, prime example, Barrett Debris. He was first squad out. He shot in the downpour. You know, we were shooting the same time, you know, next to each other. We shot in the rain. It wasn't a downpour. Like,
it wasn't a downpour. Our back 50 was all right. Our front 50, we were getting a little wet.
Our first post? No. And I went dead lost in the second pair. And I'm like, listen, and that's where, and that's another part of this is the you know, I do the self-talk and the thought process, and it's all instant. And I went dead lost, and I said, okay, that's it. You're in the all-around, you're in the overall, let's get together here. And, you know.
So, I mean, Rick and I don't want to sidetrack too much off of the questions, but, you know, that mental mindset that you have, is that something that you've always been able to turn on in your game, or is that something that you had to really work on over years and years of doing it? I mean, has it gotten a lot better over time, or has it always been good?
It's always been fairly decent. I mean, as a young kid, if I wanted to shoot, my dad said, you got to win. We didn't have an unlimited, you know, checking account and such. And it was, you know, Dad said, you want to go here, you got to win. So get to, and that, being honest, I mean, it was, you know, it was like, hey, you got to win to go the next shoot. And then when I started paying for it as a young kid, 18, that's, I mean, I wanted to shoot. I love this sport. I've put every ounce, sweat, tears, everything into it. You know, 36 years of shooting, and it's one of those that, you know, now can you get that mindset? Absolutely. And it's just thought processes and trust in the process versus, you know, you have a bad event and back fiddling with the comb, fiddling with the rib, listen, my rib has not been changed since 2006.
That's a long time. Back then, they probably just about had fixed ribs guns only. I mean, they didn't even have the adjustable ones.
Squirrel.
See, Rick, I don't know why you're so good at this, but you're always leading into the next thing. He's a professional, people. And I think, you know, our number 3 thing that we talked about is people not having their gun fit properly when they go to the tournament, or not being set up correctly. Like, these are the common mistakes that we're seeing. You know, how much, when you're doing clinics, Rick, how many times are you seeing guns not set up properly? You know, either with what's most common? What are you seeing more often?
Most common is people aren't looking down the rib. They're off to the side. They think they see it. I mean, nothing against these, you know, the fluorescent sights. I don't think they're a bad thing. I personally, for me, am like, I like the white bead just because it doesn't glow. Because I feel that glowing can, but also with a fluorescent bead, you can be off to one side and you're like, oh yeah, I see it. Well, yeah, you might be, you know, instead of looking here, you're here.
Correct.
You can see it. It's
correct. I think it gets too big, right? It gets too big and it gets too fluorescent, and you can't really gauge, because for me, I feel like when I'm mounting that gun, I mean, even now, and I'm still learning and learning and learning, the more perfect I can get it lined up, the better. And it's, you know, you can have it just a little wiggle off, and that little wiggle off at 27-yard line, I think it makes a big difference. I mean,
you can start to go a foot, and you got to remember 30-inch circle, you know. So that's where I always tell people is, you know, set your gun up, make sure it's fitted properly. You know, go to someone that knows how to fit a gun. Now there's a lot of people that don't have adjustable combs, and I get that. You're kind of it. What you have is what you have. But if you want to succeed in this game, you need a gun that fits you.
And if for some reason you don't have access to that yet, and you're having to mount the gun in a way where you're putting your face to the gun, at the end of the day, you need to make sure that the beads line up with your eye. Because like when I
Yeah.
started, I had, you know, a little old Remington 1100 shotgun, and I was a kid, and it wasn't like a custom fitted stock. It didn't have a comb or anything. It just was a classic trap 1100 Monte Carlo with no comb. And what I had to do is I had to kind of lean my head down and over and, you know, roll over to it a little bit to get the beads lined up with my eye perfect. But as long as I was cognizant of what was going on and I was able to mount the gun the same every time and get those beads lined up, as long as I kept my head there all the way through the shot, it worked decently. I mean, it wasn't nowhere as near as like a pillow fit, you know, Wenig stock, but it did the job if you kept your head in the right spot.
Well, and that's the thing. You know, I've been fortunate. I mean, even at, you know, my size today, which is slimmer than it was a few months ago.
Hey, you're looking good. Keep it up. I mean, we're both trying to lose some weight.
Yeah,
It's
we
hard.
are.
This
You know,
podcast and stuff, it wears you out, people. We gotta get tight.
we were trying to walk a little bit of Ohio, but we left Justin to do that because it was just too hot. You know, Joey Charnago sent me a message and said, "Hey, Justin's walking. Where's Zach and Ricky?" And I said, "Hey, I'm at Walmart shopping, walking in the AC. I'm the smart one." You know, but you know, one of the things I've been fortunate, you know, since I started shooting in basically about 87, was every time I picked up a gun, it came right up. I mean, it just kind of a natural mount and looking down it properly.
Well,
That
you're knowing that you want to get that sight picture, and you're taking that gun and putting it where it needs to be to say, "Hey, this is how I have to shoot this gun." And there's some people that can grab any gun off the rack and they can say, "Okay,
Yeah.
this is how I have to mount this gun to shoot this gun," right?
Yeah.
And then there's some people that mount it, and I've seen, you know, done some lessons and, you know, had people's guns set up and they mount the gun and like their eye is like an inch off of the rib to the right or an inch off of the rib to the left.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
like the beads are like this, and I'm like, "Oh, how are you?" They're like, "I'm not hitting anything," and I'm like, "Well, how could you? Like, how could you hit anything when you've got the rib in the middle of your nose and you got eyes on both sides of the gun?" I mean, that's just kind of
Yeah. It's tough. And that's one of the things that I try to tell people. I'm like, anytime you buy a gun, new gun, whatever, try to demo it or go demo one first. You know, that's the possibility.
it's very helpful. It's very helpful to have you know, good fit. And you know, we're kind of looking at, you know, characteristics of what are people doing and what could they do better.
Yep.
I think the next characteristic that I see people do a lot consistently is they're not prepared. You know, they go to the trap shoot and they haven't done the correct preparation. And Rick, talk a little bit about your preparation, whether it's getting the camper ready, getting your shells ready, or even like we could even get into goals. I mean, I feel like this is almost 4 and 5 if we start talking about goals, but
Yep.
like that preparation, where does that start for you?
So like right now, you know, I got home at 4 a.m., 3:45 a.m. this morning. Grabbed the guns out of the camper and parked it, and then went got this morning and took it over to an RV park that's close by the house that I take it over and plug it in and, you know, let it run, especially in the 100+ degree temperature.
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah, grabbed all, you know, dirty clothes, stuff, you know, so I'm washing clothes now, get stuff ready. I'll get shells ready later on this evening when it cools down. You know, I'll probably grab, 3 or 4 flats of each. You know, I shoot the lights and the heavies. So, you know, I'm only shooting 1,200 targets or 1,100. I think it's 1,200 targets at Nebraska. I haven't been since 2020. So,
Yeah, it's the
so
welcome back shoot.
yeah. So I'll grab, you know, probably 4 flats of each, throw them in the truck, and people say, "Well, why is that?" You know, I was like, "Well, for shoot offs." You know, my pre-game of, you know, routine of getting everything ready is I want to make sure I got enough shells for shoot offs. Because
Well, yeah, because the odds are you're going to probably be in a shoot off, Ricky. I mean, let's just be real.
Well, you got to be confident. You're not, like I tell people, I'm not going for second place. Now, do you get second place? Yeah. Man, I was second in several events in Ohio, which was good. I mean, considering the size of the shoot, you know. So I get stuff ready. Tomorrow, got a couple doctor's appointments I got to go to. Handle that stuff. Come home, grab the clothes, take it to the fifth wheel, hook up.
All right, folks, we got to take a quick second and give a huge shout out to our title sponsor, Krieghoff. Me and Ricky both shoot them. We both love them.
Yeah, best gun in the industry. I shoot them. I sell them. Nothing better, folks. Get yourself a Krieghoff. Your scores will increase.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds with his. I mean, I've got a few hundreds, but I'm always working to get a little bit better, and they definitely help me, that's for sure. So on top of that, we also got to thank Wenig. I'm wearing the shirt today. Love this shirt. If you're down at the Grand, pick one up.
Yeah, Wenig, like I said, Zach, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds with my Wenig stock. You know, get a hold of Bobby, Luke, Bill, get an appointment set up. They will make you a better shooter with that Wenig stock.
Of course, yeah, the Grand's the great place to do it. Give them a call, get on their book. It's worth your time.
Just remember, winners shoot Wenigs.
With that being said,
let's get back to the show.
It's getting things in order, and like one of the funniest memories I had as a kid growing up is when I got down to Kingsburg State Shoot, and there was a friend of mine, I won't mention his name, but he got all the way down to the shoot, and he forgot his gun. Like, it was one of those things where it's like, how do you forget? I mean, I'm sure it's happened. People have forgot their guns and stuff, but forget your shells, forget your bag, forget the right shoes that you like to shoot in, forget whatever vitamins you're taking or whatever, type of clothes that you like to wear. I mean, this is stuff that's happening all the time. People are like, oh, I forgot this, I forgot that. And I'm like,
that is one thing that Frank Hoppy instilled in me is he used to write a list. And he would go through and check it off once he packed it in the Suburban, going to a shoot when we went to shoots together. And Frank had all his clothes. He had a pair of jeans and a shirt for each day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
And little things like you got to prepare for the things that you're not expecting. Even if you're going to a good weather shoot, I always pack a raincoat. I always pack pants if it gets cold. I always pack a couple slickers that are warm that I can shoot in if the weather changes. I mean, we were in Ohio and we expected hot, warm weather all week. Come Sunday, jeans and something waterproof was very valuable. And, most people are like, well, I didn't pack that. Well, why wouldn't you pack for that off situation day so that you're ready? Because the last thing you want on your mind is, oh crap, now it's a crappy day and I got to go to Walmart, or I'm not prepared.
It takes you out of your zone. I'm this. Yeah, hey, I shot the whole doubles with my rain pants on. It was raining, and I'm like, I'll just shoot with the shirt instead of the raincoat because it wasn't coming down super hard. So I was like, but I left my rain pants on. And then, the shirts I shoot in, they dry pretty quick, the performance shirts. And someone come by and goes, well, you didn't even get wet. I'm like, well, I was, but so.
I don't know why people are hating on people for being smart.
Squad later. Got to beat the weather, folks. No.
Yeah, you got to have the right stuff. I mean, why would you worry about taking one extra thing in my mind? So, being prepared, and that's physically, right? That's your shells, that's your clothes, that's your guns, that's all the things that you could need. When I go, what I like to do is, especially if I'm driven in my car and I don't have my fifth wheel RV situation, and this is something Rich Bullard told me a long time ago. He packs a cooler with, ice and drinks and, some snacks in the car in case you don't have time. Sometimes when we're shooting late early and going into that next event, we don't even have time to go have lunch. You might just grab a couple handfuls of beef jerky or some trail mix or something to keep you going and keep you in the game, because you have to be prepared and just having that little stuff there. And, we had a situation in Tucson where their blood sugar went down. And so I always keep an energy bar in my shooting bag just in case you ever get in a situation where the sugar goes down or somebody's around you needs that, because you never know when you're going to need it. And I've needed it several times because unfortunately in the trap shooting community, some people have, sugar issues, I guess, but it's one too many beers, one too many years, right?
That could be.
All right, folks, we got to take another quick break and thank some more sponsors. We've got Game Masters. Ricky, you're our guy over there, right?
Yep. I sell every gun you can imagine. We've got a ton of Krieghoffs, every other brand available. So if you guys need something, let us know. We can hook you up with the shoots. We got vendor buildings in Arizona, Ohio, and then Sparta at the Grand American.
Yeah, I do like sucking up that free AC in Sparta, that's for sure. I mean, it's a good time. Come by and say hi to us.
That's right.
Also, Shot Tracker. I mean, we've had great success with them. Ricky, you've been involved since day one, so
it's like having a coach on the end of your barrel. It's a great tool, especially for doubles. That's what I really like it for. You can see the transition moving from the first target to the second target. That's where a lot of people get lost in no man's land, losing that target.
I love that, and I also love the new software update, the stuff that's coming down the pipe. Those guys are constantly innovating. So with that being said,
let's get back to the show.
Talking about goals now, going into number 5, because I know people don't always have goals. We've talked about goals. We've talked about, we talked about preparing and bringing things. When you go to a shoot, are you saying, okay, this is the goal I have for this shoot? Or have you already kind of wrote those goals out for the beginning of the year and just it plays out?
Well, I have short-term, mid-term, long-term, bucket list goals, all sorts of different goals that I have that's upstairs. But I have shoot goals, and I have 2 of them. Break 100 straight and win a trophy.
That's funny you say that because those are my same shoot goals. I want to break 100 straight at every shoot I go to, and I want to win 1 trophy at every shoot I go to. That is like my number one thing.
Yeah, and I had a stint there of winning a trophy. It was like 5 or 6 years maybe, where I won a trophy at every shoot, and there were some shoots, you win more. And I mean, Ohio, up till, not get off the subject, but as far as winning trophy, Ohio State shoot, it's the number 1, number 2 largest state shoot in the country. This year, I think it'll be 2 because the weather kind of hurt them on Sunday. So for the attendance, but I had won runner-up in the prelim handicap. That was the only trophy I won. Going into Sunday, I ended up runner-up in the doubles, runner-up in the all-around, and runner-up in the overall. So I ended up winning 4 total trophies. I was tickled pink. Now, the trophies, like the doubles, I didn't have to shoot off for it. It was a long fought after, flip.
It was a powerful flip. I felt the bad side of the coin on the all around and the doubles on that one.
Me and Garrett Helms were standing there, and I said to Garrett, "What do you want to do?" He said, "I don't want to shoot." And Garrett won the handicap. He broke a low 99. Awesome job of shooting and there. And so we flipped. I won that. And we were looking and heck, we're tied in the all around. Well, it was me, Garrett, you, Ryan Glow, and Ditto. Everybody was gone but us 2. And he looked at me and said, I guess we should flip for that too. And he goes, oh, okay. We flipped again. I won again. So
did you call heads both times or what?
I let him call.
Did he call same both times or did he change and lose both times?
Oh, he changed and lost.
See, you never change if you already called one. You got to stick with that one, and you'd get the second one. But that change cost him.
Maybe he did call the same. I don't remember. I was trying to get out of there. We had a long drive home, but the goals, folks. Honestly, that should be your number one mental ability or mental capacity of throwing it in there of like, hey, these are what I want to work on. This is what I want to do. And then you can go for your, other things in your pre-shot routine. But the goals, folks, very important. I mean, I don't know how to stress that. More than what
you can't stress it enough. I mean, we talk about it all the time on the show, but I've had people come up to me at Ohio and say, Zach, what you and Ricky are doing, it's inspiring me to get into it, and I'm learning so much. I mean, there's people that are league shooters and now that are shooting ATA for the first time, and they're shooting 198s, 199s, and 200s, and they're like, it's amazing when you start to say, okay, what are all the little things we have to do? Yep. And that's why we're talking about today's episode. Like, what are the little things that we're seeing, coast to coast as issues that people consistently do? And
one example, I'll give a shout out, Joey Charnago. I mean, Joey shot lights out, won a bunch of stuff. Mikey Wingard won the handicap, won the all around. Joey won the singles, doubles, the overall. But a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Kettering, who tied me, he won the in-state handicap Friday with a 99, but he also tied for the singles championship and ended up runner-up to Joey. He talked about watching the podcast, and it has helped him so much. So the little things like that, I mean, that's cool. And, I want to thank everybody. We had so many kind words and conversations and just so much stuff there at Ohio during our, the back fence shootout, not Joey's event that he brought us in on, and we helped sponsor and turned into a awesome event.
Oh, it's going to be an awesome event, and I think it's only going to get bigger and bigger every year. And the sponsors already sound like they want to do more next time. So I don't know how much bigger of a buckle we can do, because that one was pretty big, Rick. So I mean, we'll just have to figure out what we need. Maybe like one of those WWE. You've seen it here first, kind of one we throw over the shoulder. No, yeah,
we're not doing that. I'm out. No, but seriously, folks, set some goals. Set the short-term goals that you can achieve, because self-satisfaction is the awesome. We're like, oh, great. So set them goals. Write them down. I've been doing this a long time, so my goals are upstairs. But write them down and look at them. And if you don't achieve it, don't get down on yourself. Just say, what do I got to do to work a little bit harder to get that goal? What do I got to do?
I agree with that. Now, going to the writing down and the goals, I think another, number 6, another common thing that is not done at shoots coast to coast. All right, guys, we got to take another quick break and thank some more sponsors. We got to say big thank you to White Flyer, America's best targets. You make them, we break them, right, Rick?
That's right. We got the new Eco flyer that we helped design, myself and Sean Hawley. That's out now, available out of the Georgia factory. That's an awesome target. Look for that. Going to be available hopefully everywhere by 2025. But yeah, they are best target in the industry.
I'm looking forward to the Blue-Gray Shootout this year at the Grand too. That's going to be a fun event.
Yeah, you're in that too this year, aren't you, Zach?
We both are, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm in it. I didn't know if you made it or not.
See, yeah, that's okay. I skated right in there. Don't you worry. But we got another sponsor we got to thank. Yep. Shotguns West, the Pillas, baby. Check out these wings. Ricky don't got these. He ain't that stylish.
Oh, folks, listen. Zach tries to wear these driving down the road, doing podcasts. It's okay. We still love it.
When you look good, you don't have to apologize. Remember that. Not only can you hit more targets, but you can look good doing it. Give Ryan a call.
That's right.
With that being said,
let's get back to the show.
I feel like a lot of people aren't documenting or journaling their experiences and what they're learning, because I mean, and Rick, you could talk about this for a minute, but what I like to do is I like to keep notes on my phone. I just keep the notes pad open, and I have every shoot I go to. I have Ohio State shoot, Illinois State shoot, Missouri State shoot, every kind of shoot I've ever been to. I title it in my notes with the name of the shoot. And then I have running notes for every year, all the different things, whether it's the banks or whether it's hold points or whether it's, lenses or whatever I want to put, whatever I'm feeling that day. But there's so many missed opportunities for people going to these shoots. Maybe it's their first time and they adjust to the background or they adjust to the house, and then they leave for a year and they come back in the first 3 days the next year. They forgot what they forgot that they were there. I mean, how much do you see that happen, Rick?
Oh, a ton. I used to keep a journal as a young kid. And where I got it actually started was from the Olympic Training Center, back in the 80s. They gave you a journal and you jotted down how was today, what was the target, what was the wind, what was the weather, what was the background, were the targets popping with the sun, what was your lens I mean, all these array of things. And I use that journal, like I said, upstairs of, if I've been to a gun club one time, when I step foot back on those grounds, it all comes back to
and that's very, very important. I think for you, you're an anomaly because you've been shooting so many years and you've done it at such a high level that if you go to San Antonio, you know what's going on in San Antonio. You go to Ohio, you know what's going on in Ohio. You've been enough times. But I think for the people that haven't been, like for me, whenever I go to a new gun club, that first week is the learning experience where I'm learning all these little things about, I definitely like these banks over here versus these banks. I definitely, these houses are a lot wider. The houses are a lot smaller. Things like that. It's really hard to remember all of those details in my mind, and I think people miss out on that.
Well, prime example, folks. Okay, you got the U.S. Open at Sparta, and then 2 months later, month and a half later, you got the Grand. So I used to always shoot the Ohio State shoot when it was in Vandalia, because a month and a half later we shot the Grand, or a month later. And this is a prime deal going back to the Grand in Vandalia. When they put pat traps in on the facility, we shot them at the Ohio State shoot. They had to raise the roof of the house, so lift the whole trap house up and kind of like shim it, so it was up to be able to get the pats in there. Okay. Well, when they did that, we shot them at the Ohio State shoot. Well, it threw targets out kind of the side of the house a little bit. Well, I noticed that. No problem. I moved my whole point out and down just a little bit. Didn't have a problem. First week of the prelims of the Grand that year, I was shooting pretty good. A lot of the West Coast guys and even East Coast guys, people from all over that hadn't shot were like, man, Rick, what's going on? What are you doing different? I'm like, nothing. Nothing. It's a Grand American. I'm like, and then finally, Dave Kelly said to me, you moving your whole point out or something. And I was like, well, yeah, dummy. Look at the freaking targets coming out the side. What are you going to do? And everybody's like, and that's a little thing, so for the Grand, I mean, it's not a bad idea to maybe go shoot the U.S. Open, and be able to get acclimated if you've never been there, stuff like that. And that's
correct. And I've shot those banks down there, and a lot of those banks that they shoot at the U.S. Open are the shoot off banks, right? So you can kind of learn, okay, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, just little tidbits, little tips, right? I mean, you gotta think this is a game of repetition. The more you can know about your background, the more you can know about your fields, the more you can know about whatever it is you're doing, the better you're going to be in the long run. And I think, it's got to be helpful. But if you're not documenting that information as you're spending that money and as you're doing it, well, then it's gone. Because unfortunately, if I don't write it down in the first 5 or 10 minutes after an event, an hour later, I've already forgot that I did it. Like I already forgot it. I moved on. Right. So I think if you're, buy a journal if you can, put it in your bag.
Maybe look at it, stop into our building at the Grand. Who knows? Maybe we'll have some Trap Talk journals available.
You never know. You never know what we're going to have available at the Grand.
That's right.
We know we got stickers. We know we got hats. We know we got T-shirts. But everything else, John just has packages show up to my house every day, and I open it, and I'm like, I thought it was something for me. Nope, not for me. For Trap Talk. For Ricky, for sure. All right, Trap Talk listeners, let's take a couple seconds and thank a couple more sponsors. First of all, Remington's been with us since day one. I've been shooting these shells since 2007. I shoot the Nitro 27 from the 27-yard line, ounce and eighth, 7.5, and STS, ounce and eighth, eighths for singles and doubles. They've worked great for me, as they do a lot of top shooters all around the country. Give them a try. Don't forget the gun club line when you're practicing and you're wanting to save a little bit of money.
We'd also like to thank another sponsor, Outlaw Engineering. Randy Freston, R2. I've known Randy since 1988. They do engineering, surveying, drafting, GIS, civil, structural, land development, wetland permitting. They do it all.
And they're friends of trap shooters. I mean, they're a trap shooting family. They've been in the ATA forever. His dad's been involved. They're involved. They're a beautiful family. They're great people. And we just love that they listen to the show, and we love that they support Trap Talk.
Yeah, his dad was past president in 1989. So I really want to thank those guys for the support. I really appreciate it here at Trap Talk.
With that being said,
let's get back to the show.
Number 7, I think, carries into people mounting the gun. We've talked about gun fit, But how many common mistakes happen from people coming out of the gun on the way to the target, Rick? Do you see that a lot? I mean, how important, I guess, rewording that, how important is it to stay in the gun all the way through the shot?
Oh, it's very important. That's why when I teach people to follow pieces of the targets, the follow through. And I get some pushback from some that are like, well, the shot's already out of the barrel. Yes and no. You need to finish the shot and stay locked in, because the number one reason is to be able to then go on and shoot doubles, because you got to stay in the gun to be able to shoot the second shot. So I'm a big advocate of the follow through, and I see a lot of people don't do that, or some people don't even teach that. I do. I mean, the way I drive, you drive through, boom, we're driving through that target. And let me tell you, in Ohio, I mean, they threw awesome targets. You know, hats off to the Cardinal Center. It was 90 flipping plus every day, so it was hot. So there's going to be good scores. But, you know, they had water every day for everybody. I mean, the cart girl driving around, you know, with refreshments, free water.
It's one of the best facilities in the country.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and such. But, you know, the targets, we had a few traps, some wide angles, and that doesn't bother me. I'm like, just get on it, move that gun. So,
well, yeah, and I'm so glad you said that about the doubles, because I've always made it a point, and it's probably even too much, but I'm locked in that gun where when I shoot that first shot of doubles, I stay in that gun and go over. I mean, that's probably the thing that I do the best, is staying in the gun, and it's because you always told me. Yeah, I'm in that damn thing. I mean, the only one that grips a gun harder than me is Chris Vendel. I mean, but if your head's moving or you're coming out, it changes your whole vision's focal point to that target. And it causes that gun to slow down, and it causes you to stop up instead of turning in with the bird. And I mean, if you look across the country, coast to coast, and watch traps and watch people, you're going to see more people coming out of the gun or on top of that,
just go boom,
finishing with their hand even. I mean, that left hand finish that you see, the Rich Bullard special, right? I mean, and that comes from coming out of the gun. If you stay in the gun, you're not going to throw that left hand.
Bullard has a tendency to do that, the wiffle ball. Yeah. It's like,
and I guess there's some people that get away with it, but there's some people, like for me, I feel like whenever you come off plane, it just messes everything up.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Trop Talk listeners, let's take a quick second to thank a couple more amazing sponsors. SOS Clay's Shoot Management. They're doing a fantastic job. I love the app. I love being able to see everything on my phone instantaneously. It's freaking awesome. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, Greg Pink and his group over there. I mean, they've got majority of the satellite grands, majority of the state shoots. I think it's 40 plus state shoots they're doing. But the app, honestly, we were doing a little beta testing with that at the Spring Grand. It's awesome. You can see your squad if they paid. You know, you can see your options, your payouts. The whole works at your fingertips. Great deal. They're just
Ricky knew how much money he made before he even got off the line. He was like, hey, I'm buying lunch. I'm like, yeah, good job. We're good to go.
That's
we
right.
also got gun and trophy insurance. I mean, they're the best in the business. I know they're great price. Ricky, you're familiar with them, right?
Yeah, Cole and Larry Cushman been long-time supporters of myself, and I've been a supporter of them, and, you know, especially with my college team. You know, we require insurance. It's so fast and easy to sign up and get your insurance. In literally 10 minutes, you can have your guns insured, and they're just great. They're great to deal with. Like I said, you can do your trophies also, you know, your wildlife animals and that such, and your guns. It's just a great
It's always good when you're traveling around to have that peace of mind and know that you don't have to worry about losing your stuff forever. And these are expensive things, especially when you got those Krieghoffs. You got to keep them insured. So,
exactly.
With that being said,
let's get back to the show.
So, carrying to number 8, this is another fundamental thing. We talk about this all the time. I mean, seeing people's feet, not adjusting them, and keeping them the same 1 through 5 is the first thing you see, and then having incorrect feet. Like we've talked about this a bunch, but if we're talking about the things that you see, I mean, how many times are you correcting people's feet, Rick?
A lot. I'm gonna say 60-40. You got a few. I mean, we've done the episode with shooting and stance, so a few of the classes I've been teaching lately, since those episodes, they're like, hey, watch the episode. How's his feet? I'm like, good. But like I tell people, you got to be comfortable, but then also you got to be able to see the target, be able to move properly to it. Because I guess some people say, well, I'm comfortable. Well, yeah, that's great, but you can't move properly to the target, you know. And then you start arm shooting, and there's only one guy that could arm shoot, and that was Leo Harrison.
Leo. That's it. I mean, he's the only one I ever seen that got away with it and did it great.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's and we appreciate you guys watching and seeing it. But even then, the people that are or aren't watching it, I mean, going from coast to coast and looking across the fields, there's certain things that you just kind of pay attention to, and you're like, oh, that's a problem, right? I mean, if you're,
I seen it in Ohio. I was down helping Tyler. Tyler wanted some help with some handicap, and so went down and there was a guy shooting on the next field over, and I happened to look over, and he was right-handed, standing on post 1 with his right foot like this, like a left-handed person would stand on post 5. And I was like, and I watched, and a target came out and went right, and he went, I mean, literally like had to rotate his shoulder, and I'm like, what the heck?
That's not going to help a good score.
No, not at all.
And I mean, most of the stuff that we're talking about, I mean, it's all very simple, fundamental stuff, but you have to do all of it to have success, right? It's like you can't really miss any of it.
Put it into that catchphrase, and then let her eat.
All right, folks, let's take a quick second and thank some brand new incoming sponsors of the show. These are personal friends of mine, fellow clay shooters, and lovers of the outdoors, Rick and Carla Burke at 73 Pointers Ranch. Rick, tell them what we're doing.
Well, we're doing a giveaway at the Grand American. So they've graciously donated a one-person hunt for, I think it's, 18 quail or 12 chukar or 8 pheasants. Your choice, guide and dog. We've got dinner, overnight, lodging, breakfast. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a great giveaway.
It's a great thing. It's valued at like $1,500. You can obviously bring a guest if you'd like, but, it's about an hour out of St. Louis Airport. And if you're lucky, maybe me and Rick will go out there with you and do some bird hunting, because this is an awesome place. It's a great time. And if you're local to this area, it's not that far out of the city. So you can be in the office and then be hunting in the afternoon. So they're great, great people, and they love this show. So we really, really appreciate the love and support.
Yeah, we'd like to thank Rick and Carla. We really appreciate that.
Also, we've got Mid-State Precious Metals, Ron Prescott. He's a great guy for all your gold and silver needs. Ricky, tell them about our friend.
Yeah, Ron, he graciously donated a 10-ounce silver bar to our live in-person podcast in Tucson. And, he has everything. I bought a bunch of silver from him. We got our silver and gold for the fun day at the Nevada State Shoot on Monday this year. John got all the silver and gold for the Nevada State Shoot. So look him up for your silver and gold needs. He'll give you the best price out there.
He really is, and he's a friend of the Trapshooters. I mean, he's looking to get gold and silver to these gun clubs for their shoots at the lowest price across the country. He's doing them a service and helping grow the sport. So, thank you so much for that, Ron.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. We appreciate it.
With that being said,
let's get to the show.
So that brings us to number 9, and I think, me and Ricky talked about this. I think it's very critical. Ricky's pretty consistent with his. Mine changes a little bit more, but where you keep your eyes when you're getting ready to call pull. What do you see a lot happening there, Rick? I mean, do you see people looking too high, too low? I mean, what's common?
It's all the above, honestly. I see a lot of people look too far out, and then they when we've talked about this before, but they come back to see the target, which is then going away, and the head comes up, and that goes back to what we talked about, keeping your head down. And I always say I like to have the eyes close, so it's aware of the gun, because if it's not, a lot of people go, well, I just shoot off instinct. I'll say, nah, you're seeing something in your subconscious vision. Or
you have to know where that gun is. I don't care what anyone says. You can't just make the gun disappear if it's plopped in the middle of your eye.
Yeah, exactly. So I always see it a lot where, people, they look too far out. Well, then they go all the way in, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm seeing a streak." Well, yeah, you're going to. That's why you work on it by pushing it and practicing. Going, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set my eyes here, or the best thing to do, folks, and I tell students this all the time: go watch other squads shoot and sit there and look at the targets and mimic. Like, okay, pull. Well, I see it. If my eyes are here, I see it a little better than here.
Well, yeah, because everyone's going to see a streak at some level, and then everyone's going to see a whole target. And I got to take my hat off to Jimmy Heller. I mean, when I was a kid, he told me this. He said, "Zach," I said, "Where are you look, Jimmy?" And he says, "You should look where you see the target hole. If you see the target hole at 3 feet out of the house, well, then that's not a bad place to look, probably." I mean, and that was really good advice for me. Now, I've changed that somewhat now, and I do it a little differently now. But for someone that was new, if someone asked me, well, where should I put my eyes or where should I start to look for the bird? I would say to start where you see it well, because if you don't see it well and you see that flash and you start throwing the gun, nothing good comes from that.
No, that's why I see the target. I mean, when I see the target leave the house, because I'm on the house, for the first foot, it's a streak, and then shoot, I lock on and wham, then I drop the hammer.
Wham! I like that. I think John's gonna do kind of special effects with that one. Wham! Yeah. Ricky's dropping the hammer.
The hammer, right on Zach's head. Bonk.
Oh, I don't like that. But I think for our listeners, talking about these eyes, try it out, figure out what works for you, but have something consistent, because I find that when we're talking to these people, they'll say, "Well, one day I'm looking 1/8 of an inch above the beads, and then one day I'm looking 5 inches above the beads," and it's like changing all the time. It shouldn't change that much. I mean, it should be.
Mine is the same. I look the same spot as I did 25 years ago. I don't change.
And you're looking through the beads, right? I mean,
you're looking through the beads on the house. I see the target and drive.
And I really like that, because it's consistent. It's the same all the time. For me, sometimes if I get my eyes too low on the gun and through the beads in that zone, I end up kind of getting that gun in front of the target and stopping. So, I'm not very high above the guns, folk, but maybe no more than a half a dime above the gun. But, a half a dime to a dime. I mean, I'm looking above those beads just so that I can keep that gun out of my eye enough that I don't stop the gun when I get there. So, I mean, everyone's got to play with that, but I'm not looking 6 or 8 or 10 inches above the gun. Now, there are some people that I've heard look ahead. I mean, I was talking with Keith Ditto at Ohio, and he said that, he keeps his eyes
golf cart winner at the Ohio
golf cart champion of the world. He says that he gets his eyes a little bit more above the gun than even I do. And, if that works for him, great. But I feel like you can get to a point.
All right, Trap Talk
you
listeners,
get too
gotta
far
take a few more
separated and you don't know where that gun is. This time we're plugging Trap Talk. We got the hats on. Ricky, why are you wearing the same hat as me? It's going all gray. We got hats. We still got some available, right, Rick?
Yeah, we got multiple hats available. We got a big order of hats coming out too. You can get them on the website. John will put the link either up here or down here. Not sure. That's somewhere up to John. So I gave him both.
Yeah, you never know where he's going to put them. That being said, we love you guys wearing the hats at Trap Shoots. It really shows the support. It shows the love. Take pictures. Tag us on Instagram. Tag us on Facebook. Send us messages of you guys wearing the hats. Wear them proud. And we got a big reveal coming for the Grand. I think you guys are really going to like it. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a place for you to maybe get some merchandise. So more details to come. With that being said,
let's get back to the show.
Well, that brings us to number 10. And number 10 is something that we've seen and experienced even in the last couple of weeks. And I think we'll just categorize it as what? Temper control, like anger management issues. I mean, people getting a little upset and letting it affect their game. How much do you think that plays into it, Rick?
Oh, a lot. I mean, a lot of stuff, we've seen stuff happen behind you when you're shooting, people being real loud, people get mad about that. It happens, because you're in the heat, you're trying to work and and do well, and then you got people back. So it's all a quick reaction. But I always say control everything. You miss a target, that's part of the deal, with the anger. You miss when you get mad, throwing shells and stuff. You got to control that, because if you're angry, the next target possibly could be a loss too.
Yeah, and it happens. I mean, there was a time where I'd get so angry missing, and then I'd be thinking about it, and I'd be steaming, and my head would turn red. I'd look like Dave Kelly, and you'd miss the next one because you're like, oh, I just went from a 9 to an 8, and now you're from an 8 to a 7, right?
Yeah,
like
then you're on a 5, going, what the heck?
Now you're at a 6, and now you're at a 5, and you just took a 2 post at the Grand, and all your option money's gone, right? I mean, it's not fun. So that all happens when you lose your cool. And, we're talking about two separate things. We're talking about, one, losing your cool because of a mistake that you made, but two, losing your cool because of outside circumstances. And those outside circumstances could be the house ran out of targets, or the puller doesn't know what the hell they're doing.
We've had all that, and it's one of those that you got to keep your cool. You got
to just move with the environment, whether the targets are crappy or the puller's messing up or there's somebody behind you making a bunch of noise. What can you do in that moment to make it better? You cannot let it affect you, because if you let it affect you, once it's affecting you, then you're in a position where, okay, I let that outside experience bother my game. Yep. I mean, and Ricky's one of the best at it. I mean, I've seen traps run out. I've seen, pullers messing everything up and people honking their horns behind him. And he's just like, target, bang, and breaks it. And that's something that I see consistently across the country. I think trap shooters might be a little hot-headed in general, because I see shells ejecting forward out of those K80s way too much. The forward eject model, it just...
Listen. I put my hand up and I go pop, and sometimes it goes forward. Justin asked me if mine ejected forward, and I said it's going to eject to the left.
It's going to eject. I don't like it when it ejects.
I'm going to have Andy at Krieghoff put me a super spring in there where I can turn the gun and go swing and hit Justin over on the left side of me.
Where it really gets me is when it ejects to the side and it hits the Canterbury mic, and then boom, a target goes off.
It was really funny over there at Ohio. I had an annual done on my gun, and I was shooting the doubles, and the humidity, of course, things start sticking,
They stick in there.
Yeah, and my show goes, and I seen it going to fall, and I'm like, I'm going to let it hit. It hits the concrete, bounces up in the air, and Ryan Glow is mounting his gun, and I'm like, oh, it's not going to affect him. It's like he does like the quick call, and it goes ting, and he goes pull, and it was just a little quick, and he's like, He looks at the mic. We got done. I was like, hey, sorry about that. He's like, what are you talking about? I told him, he goes, oh, that was you. And I said, yeah, the shell literally hit, then came back up and hit and it happens, It
does. I mean, it does. As long as it's not happening out of anger, right? You're throwing a shell, you're hitting something, that type of situation. But in general, we thought about this.
Cool and be positive. Like my number one thing in shooting is have fun. Be positive. It's a great sport. It's great family aspect. I'm fortunate, my wife and son were there at Ohio shooting with Tyler and Justin and Wyatt, and Ryan Glow.
Family squad.
Yeah, and we had a great time. I mean, everybody shot well. We had ups and downs with, targets, we had a few houses run out and
we had houses run out in doubles here and there, but it happens. It's not,
I mean, it's tough,
sometimes there's just not enough workers, and they're spread thin, and they're doing the best they can. It's not like this is the only place in the country where that happens. I mean, I can tell you it's probably happened at every single shoot I've been to this year, at least once. So, if you're running a 50 straight or 100 straight and it happens and that's enough to upset you to miss, well, I mean, you got to be able to say, hey, this is just part of the program. This is just another day in the office.
Just have fun. If you revert back to just have fun, you'll be fine.
I like that, Ricky. We're going to have a hat and it's going to say have
That's
fun.
Right. Have fun with a smiley face.
Have fun from Trap Talk. But With that being said, we had a lot of fun going over these tips with you guys. I hope you use them. I hope you enjoy them. We're definitely going to do some more of this stuff because you guys keep asking,
send some stuff in, folks. Send in like, hey, you want a big episode on this or that,
If you tell us what you want, we aim to please. You say, hey, we're here. We got a great producer, John. He hooks it up all the time. Shotco Productions, you got to give a shameless plug to them. But at the end of the day, we're doing this for you. So if there's something that you want us to cover, there's something you want us to get into, send it in. We'll get it done. We love shooting episodes. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next Friday.
See you next Friday. Good luck, everybody.
And the Trap Talk podcast is brought to you in part by
RM Shooting Clinics. Have Ricky take your game to the next level. If you want to shoot hundreds, give Ricky a call today. Zach Nannini Financial. We believe in putting people first.